Hey guys, it's Amy here, and today I have a little bit of a different video to share with you. So if you are here for kind of bookish content, maybe skip to a different video, but I also wanted to just put a little trigger warning here because today I'm going to be discussing all things kind of pregnancy related. So if that is a triggering topic for you, then maybe jump to a different video. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I have reached an age in my life and a kind of stage of my life wherein people do ask and have been asking if I'm going to be having children. Now for me, in my current life situation, that question does not bother me. In fact, it kind of excites me because I am excited to have children if I can have children. However, if that question had been asked to me a few years ago, I probably wouldn't have had the same kind of reaction to it. So let me just give you a little bit of a recap of my experience or my kind of journey, I guess, a bit of a dramatic word for it, I guess, but my experience with pregnancy and the idea of having children and kind of how that has changed over the last few years. If you have been with my channel for a while, you'll know that I used to have a long-term partner and they were in the military, so they weren't around a lot of the time. At that point in my life, I knew categorically that I did not want to have children. In fact, I told people, I remember talking to my parents, I remember speaking to people at work, saying that I was never going to have children, that that was not something I wanted, and it was just not going to be on the cards for my life. I remember speaking to my parents, telling them that they wouldn't expect any grandchildren from me and for them to put that out of their minds because that is not something that would be happening. Now there are a couple of reasons for me personally why that kind of came around. I have a huge fear of medical situations, including needles and any kind of procedure that may take the control away from me and kind of my life, or something to do with me, whether that be pain or whatever it may be, is in the hands of somebody else. I'm not very good at the dentist, all these kind of things, they cause me to have panic attacks and stress me out beyond belief. I'm sure there are some of you out there who have similar kind of phobias and things like that. For me, the actual process of being pregnant and having a baby at the end of it and having to go to hospital, have checkups and all of that kind of stuff, that as the kind of baseline of my worry, put me off having children anyway, because the idea of something growing inside of me, I also have a kind of fear or a phobia, I don't know how you describe it really, of things being under my skin. That I'm not even going to talk about it because I know there's probably some people out there that also have a similar thing, and it just makes me feel a bit sick thinking about it. So yeah, as you can imagine, growing a child in my stomach just makes me think of Alien, not gonna lie. So whilst I was in that relationship, absolutely no chance that I was going to be having children, and I put it down to the fact that I had those fears to do with hospitals and procedures and those kind of things, and that it would be the same if I was with anybody. Then that relationship ended and I met Mark. Now on mine and Mark's first date, we were very open, very honest. We kind of laid all our cards on the table as to what we wanted from a relationship and what we were looking for, essentially. And in that conversation on our very first date, I said to Mark that I did not want to have children. And if that was something that he wanted, then it was probably best to just end things there, because that was not something that I was ever going to have. Mark saw something in me and wanted to pursue it enough, because actually his feelings on it, although he didn't say it at the time, was that he really wants children, and I know now how much he did want to have children. So I almost feel extremely lucky in the fact that he pursued the relationship with me, because he could have very well ended it there, and we wouldn't be where we are right now, which would have been really sad. So what changed my mind? Because I do still hold those fears around having procedures done to me or having a baby, growing a baby inside me. All of those things are still there. However, I believe it's the person that I'm with that has caused the change in my thoughts towards pregnancy. So spending a few months with Mark and being with Mark around his nieces specifically made me realise and brought these kind of feelings up inside me, you know, broody kind of feelings, and I actually began to change my perspective and my mind on what I wanted from my life and my thoughts on having children. This for me obviously was a huge change in what I expected from my life. I remember speaking to people at work and speaking to my family and like hinting that I had thoughts about potentially having children in the future, and it was a huge shock to the people that were around me because I had been so adamant before that that was not something I ever wanted. So the reason I wanted to share my thoughts on this and my experience with this is not because I want to undermine or shame or make anyone that feels like they don't want to have children feel like that's ever going to change, because it might not ever change, but it may. It's just one of those things. But the main reason I wanted to make this video is for the people that are around people who may have children or are of an age where they are potentially going to be having children or could have children, because that is one thing that gets to me and one thing that I feel very acutely towards when I hear people like asking people who are in relationships or who've got married or whatever it might be, when they are going to have children and if they're going to have children. Well, it's not even yet, it's not if they're going to have children, it's when. That's usually how the question is framed, and that is what I dislike, because making an assumption on the fact that someone is going to have a child just completely disregards that person's thought processes, their feelings, anything to do with their experience up until that point. And it essentially quantifies a woman's existence on being pregnant and having a child, when there are so many people that aren't able to do that. Every time I have been approached and someone has asked me if I'm going to be having children, and usually it's, you know, I don't mind if it's someone that I'm very close with, because they're conversations that I have with people anyway, but it's the people that are kind of peripheral to my life, who don't really know me that well, who I'm maybe just acquaintances with, who bring up those kind of questions. And I instantly think of those people who don't have the luxury of being able to have a child, or who have struggled for ages to try and have a child, and how they may feel if they are constantly being asked when they're going to have children. So many of my friends, and myself included, have had experiences where people have said things maybe well-meaning. I don't even know if some of these are well-meaning. For instance, one friend of mine had someone literally say, well, you better speed up, you're getting older, your ovaries are going to be shriveling up soon. Like, who says that to someone? Like, it's just insane. I had someone say to me, you do not understand selflessness until you have a child, and you are essentially a completely self-involved person until you give birth to somebody else. Which, as you can imagine, when someone said that to me, it was actually someone that I worked with years ago, I just thought, wow, like, I get it. I get that you've had children and that's a very, very special thing to have happened, and your child is a very incredibly important part of your life. But you don't know me. You don't know that whether I've had struggles, whether I've had miscarriages, whatever it may be, you don't know me. And how dare you say that my experience of life and me as a person is completely selfish and doesn't understand kind of being selfless in any regard until I give birth to another person. It's just mind-boggling how something like that can go through someone's mind and they think that that's okay to say to someone else. Like I said before, it's quantifying somebody's life and their purpose in life completely around giving birth and having children. And it's just something that I think needs to be spoken about more, and also kind of not attacked, but dealt with, I guess. Like, because in those situations when those things have happened to me, or, you know, friends, if someone has said something like that to them before, they don't often come back with, you know, well, actually, I've got a problem with what you've just said. Have you considered the fact that there are some people in the world that don't have children like you and haven't had successes like you and actually have struggled? To actually put those people in their place a little bit and make them just stop and think that their actions and their words could be harming someone. I think that's what I need to adopt more into my life, certainly when people have those conversations with me, because whilst, you know, at the moment I'm of a stage where I'm looking to have a child within the next year. I don't know if that's going to be a success or not. I may struggle, and so then people putting those questions on me, whilst at the moment I'm happy to have those questions because I know I'm going to be starting to try to have a family. But as soon as I start that process, if it takes a long time, people asking me those things is going to bother me, and I'm going to want to snap back at them. I won't do that. I'm really hoping that I'm going to be level-headed and think back to this video and actually explain to those people the reasons why those kind of questions can be detrimental and could be, you know, wording them slightly differently, because it's, you know, you can ask someone if they want to have children, and I think that's the key word. It's if, like, do you want to have children? Because it's okay if you don't, and I think that's something that some people forget sometimes. So I think that's all I've got to say on this topic. It's something that's been playing on my mind a lot recently, especially as it's something that's so prevalent in my mind at the moment, wanting to have children. But yeah, I'm just thinking about all those people that aren't in that space, having not been in that space previously. So yes, I think that's all I have to share on the topic. I would really love to hear down below, have you had experiences of anything like this? Has people kind of come to you with these kinds of questions? Are you someone that asks those kinds of questions? I've done it in the past. I'm not kind of preaching that I'm this saintly person that hasn't made those kinds of mistakes, I guess, in the past, but certainly it's something that now I've been on the other end of it. I've wanted to kind of reframe my thinking and try and share that with you all. So do give me your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd really love to talk to you, and I hope you're all having a lovely day. Speak to you soon. Bye.